Hey guys, in this project we're going to be building a theme called WPNews, which is just that. It's going to be a template for a news website. Alright, now we're going to be using the Ink CSS framework, which is pretty similar to Bootstrap. I actually kind of like it a little better than Bootstrap, actually. I think that it gives us some really easy widgets to work with, some extra features. Alright, so we have our logo up here, our site name and description. We have a menu here, a search bar. Now this here, recent news, this is basically just a roll of all the blog posts in our WordPress website. And you can see we also have this navigation down here where we can kind of scroll through them. Alright, and this is actually part of Ink, which is really cool, and it's really easy to implement. Down here we have some featured stories. This is also a slideshow, okay, which is pretty nice. And the way that we got these posts to be in here is we just added a category of featured, and we set up a custom WordPress query loop where it's going to just take all the posts that are in the featured category. Over here we have popular. Okay, so these are in order by the number of comments. You can see there's 2 responses or 2 comments for this one for this one, and none for that one. All right, and we set that so that it'll give us the 3 most popular posts. Down here we have another area. These are all the posts that are in the business category, and again we have these little dots down here we can click on and kind of scroll through using some JavaScript. Alright, so that's the home page. Now if we click on one of these, it's going to take us to a single post, which is pretty simple. We have some metadata, we have the image, the content, and then we have a comment section. On the side we have the sidebar widget, we have categories, and also archives. If we click on one of the categories, that takes us to the archive page, which is set up a little different than the blog roll on the home page. Okay, and again we can click on a title, that'll take us to the single page. Now if I click on one of these links, like let's say about, that takes us to our just a regular page which just has a title and the content. Alright, so pretty simple. We're going to have to create quite a bit of content just to be able to fill the template in. Alright, so we have a bunch of stock images that I'll include in the project files. This site here, ink.sapo.pt, this is the Ink framework website where you can find all the code for things like buttons, for the navigation, JavaScript UI components, things like that. Okay, so very similar to Bootstrap. If you've worked with Bootstrap, which you have if you've been following along in this course, then it shouldn't be a big deal. Alright, so that's what we'll be doing. I'll see you in the next video. Hey guys, in this video we're going to get our HTML templates set up. Now we're going to do a little bit of cheating because this Ink framework actually gives us some really nice, I guess, boilerplates or starter templates that we can use, and we're not going to have to do a lot of the markup manually. So what we're going to do is go to the Ink website, and we are going to go to Cookbook. And this gives you a whole bunch of options to start with. Alright, now the one that we want is going to be this right here, this carousel. Alright, so if we want to look at an example of it, this is what it looks like. Alright, we have the slider or the navigation down here. This one also has its own navigation. And then this bottom one is a carousel, or just a big slideshow, and the image should load in a second. These images are coming from Lorem Pixel, which is just a free image site, so they're taking quite a bit to load up. But we're not going to be using this. Well, we are going to be using this, but we're not going to have it this big. It's going to be in about half the size of this. Alright, so what we'll do is go back and click on source, and this is the HTML for our HTML template. Now there's a lot of stuff going on here. There's a lot of JavaScript, there's a lot of referencing to JavaScript files and CSS files, and everything here is pretty much done through the CDN links. Okay, so you can see all these scripts here are being loaded from cdn.inc.sapo or sapo. So we're going to keep it that way so we don't have to include them all locally, and we're just going to copy that. And then I have an empty folder called WPNews_HTML, and we're going to create an index file here. Index.html, and let's open that up with Sublime. And then we're just going to paste everything that we just copied. Okay, then we'll save that, and let's open that up, and there we go. So we have a lot of the work is already done for us. Now we are going to want a header, okay, because this doesn't have any kind of header or menu. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to go into our HTML. Let's change the title here to WP News template. And we can also get rid of a bunch of stuff. I want this to be as short as possible, so let's get rid of things like the description, meta, author. It is a responsive website, so we have the viewport, things like that. So I am going to keep that stuff. Down here we have links to icons and favicons, which you could get rid of, but I'm just going to keep it. And then this CSS files, these are being loaded from the CDN. We can get rid of this. We can get rid of this here. I'm not interested in that. These are JavaScript files loaded from the CDN. Some styling. I'm not exactly sure why they put this here, but we'll just leave it. We can get rid of these. Anything that's in comments. And we'll just shrink this up a little bit. Alright, you want to keep this. This is the navigation. And you want to keep all these carousel script tags. And yeah, that should be good. So let's go ahead and add the header. We're going to go up to the top, right under the body tag. And we're going to put in a header tag. We're going to give it a class of ink grid. Okay, we want to use the grid system. And then we're going to have a div with the class of vertical space. And then we're going to have a panel. Alright, a panel is basically this right here, this white background with the border. Alright, we want it to be in a panel. And then we're going to have an H1. This will be the site name. For now, let's just say WP News. And then we'll open up some small tags, and that's where the tagline or the description will go. We'll say another WordPress website. And this will be dynamic when we actually create the template. Under that, we're going to have our navigation. So we're going to say nav. Give it a class of ink-navigation. And then inside there we'll have our UL. We're also going to give that a class. I'm going to give it a class of menu, horizontal, and black. Okay, and then we have our LIs. This will have a class of active. Okay, very similar to Bootstrap. And this will just go to nothing for now. Actually, no, it'll go to index.html. And let me just indent this a little bit. Alright, let's copy this. Just put some other links in here. They'll say about, and let's say blog. Alright, so let's save that and see what it looks like. Alright, so that's what we want. We have our header, tagline, and menu. Now under that, we're going to want another panel with a search bar. Alright, so let's go right below the header, and let's put in a form with the class of ink grid. And then we're going to have a div with the class of ink grid. Inside that we'll have a panel. Okay, in the panel we're going to have a div with a couple classes, control group, and also append button. Alright, and then in here we'll have another div, give it a class of control, and then all dash 100. Okay, we want to take 100% of the width. And then we'll have an input, text input, and let's give it a name of S, and let's give it a placeholder. Okay, so let's indent this a little bit. Okay, take a look. Alright, so that's short. I want it to extend all the way across. Oh, you know what the issue is? This form shouldn't be ink grid. It should actually be ink form. There we go. Okay, so that looks good. Now, this down here, we're going to put this into half of a column or half a div, and then have the popular posts on the other half. And I also want to put that right here in the middle of these two. Okay, so bear with me. I'm just going to go down to right here. This is where we have the big. Is that it? No, that's not it. Right here. Yeah, so let's go from this div down to, let's see, where does this end? Right here, this div, I believe. Nope, this div. Actually, you know what, let's click on it and then it'll show me which one it ends at. Okay, so it's this one. So we're going to cut that out, and then we want to be in between these two. Okay, so we want to be in here, which I believe is right here. Let's do a test. Yep, okay. So before I paste it in, we're going to add some of our own markup. Okay, we're going to give this a class of ink grid. Let's give it a class of panel as well. Okay, and then inside there we're going to create a class of column group. And inside there we want to have two. If we were using Bootstrap, it would be two 6-column divs, but they do it a little different. They do it by, I guess, percentage. We're going to want two 50% divs, so half and half. The way that we do that is we use a class called all-50. Alright, and all-100 would be across the whole page. So we want all 50 there, and then we want another one. This is how the grid system works for ink. It's a little different than Bootstrap. Alright, so let's say test 1, test 2, and there we go. You see how this one has this side, this one is this side. So we want the slider or the carousel to be in this one. So let's put an H2 here, and we'll say featured stories. Alright, and then I'm going to paste what I copied down below. Okay, so we got this, oh, actually, you know what? We don't need this div with the panel vertical space because we have that panel up there. So let's get that out of there and get that out. Okay, and then we're just going to tab these over. Okay, so let's just see what that gives us. We'll save it. Okay, so you can see we get the featured stories. It takes a minute for the images to load. It won't be like that when we create our WordPress theme, because the images won't be coming from some remote place. They'll be in our WordPress site. Alright, so we got a little slideshow here. So this side will be the popular stories. So let's go ahead and add that. That's going to be in the other all 50 div, which is right here. We'll put an H2 here. Alright, now the markup we can actually get from the ink site, I believe. Yeah, I want, see how this article page, we want this part here on the right. So let's look at the source and let's see if we can find where that is. I believe it's this. Nope, it's this right here, this half gutters. So what we want to do is grab this UL right under the related heading. So we'll go ahead and copy that, and then we're going to paste that right here. Alright, let's see what that looks like. Awesome. Okay, we're not going to need that many. Let's get rid of 2 of those. There we go. Alright, so I think that's pretty much it for the HTML. Now we just need to turn this into a WordPress theme. We're going to end up doing the inner pages, the single pages, and that from within the theme itself, as opposed to in this HTML template. Alright, so we'll start to work on the WordPress theme next. Hey guys, in this video we're going to start to create our WordPress theme from the HTML that we created in the last video. So I have a default WordPress installation here. I haven't added or changed anything. And what we're going to do is first add the project to Sublime Text. Okay, so I have it in a folder called WordPress 3P. Okay, that's where my installation is. And then we're going to go to Themes, and then we're going to create a new folder here called WPNews. Okay, and we need 2 files to be able to activate the theme. We need index.php and we need style.css. For our style CSS, we're going to add the comment block, and we're going to specify the theme name, which will be WP News, the author, author URI. Oops, it needs to be a link. Okay, then we'll do the description. Okay, so description will say news theme for WordPress. And then the version will just be 1.0. Okay, so now we should be able to activate the theme. Let's go to the back end, go to Appearance, Themes, and you can see we have WP News. Now I do have a screenshot that I want to add as well. You should have this in your Images folder. Let's see, Themes, WP News. So we're going to paste that in and reload. Now we have a screenshot. So let's go ahead and activate it. If we go on the front end now, reload, we get a blank page. Alright, so let's go back to our Sublime Text. And what we're going to do is we're going to open up our index.php and we're going to copy and paste everything that we have inside the HTML. Okay, so let's open up the index HTML that we created in the last video, and we're just going to copy all of that and then paste that in index.php. Okay, so if we save that and go back to the front end, we can see everything, but it's all just static content. Okay, nothing here is coming from WordPress. So let's start making it dynamic. We're going to go to our HTML tag, replace this lang attribute and make it dynamic using PHP language attributes. Alright, and then in the head area for the char set, let's replace that with PHP blog info and then char set. Alright, for the title, we're going to get rid of that. And I'm going to paste this in. So we've used this before. We're using the site name, and then we're going to display the page title. If it's the front page, then we're going to display this blog info description. If it's not, then we're going to display whatever the title of the page. Alright, so let's save that. And if you look up in the top here, now we have the site name, which I have as WP News, and then the description, which is just another WordPress site. Alright, this stuff we can leave. Now we want to go down to, actually, you know what? One more thing, we want to make sure we include the style sheet, the style CSS. So right here we're going to say, actually we need a link tag, and we'll say rel style sheet. And let's set this to PHP blog info, and then pass in style sheet underscore URL. Okay, so that should do it. Now if we go down to where we have our header, let's replace this static WP News with blog info name. Okay, we want to do the same thing with the description, which we have in our small tags. So I'll change that to description. Okay, we'll take a look, and there we go. So now let's take care of the menu. We're going to have to create a new file called functions.php. And we're going to open up some PHP tags, and we're going to create a function for theme support. So we'll call it WP News underscore theme support. and we just want to register our nav menus. So register nav menus, and that's going to take in an array with the different menus. So primary, menu. Okay, so in order for this to run, we have to put in an add action, and the hook that we want is after setup theme, and then we just want our function, which is WPNews theme support. Alright, so let's save it and then go back into index, and then we're going to replace this whole UL with a function called WP nav menu. Alright, and this is going to take in an array. And we want to specify the theme location, which is going to be primary. And then we also want to specify a menu class, okay, because we had a class attached to the UL that we just deleted. So that's going to be menu, horizontal, and black. Okay, so that should do it. Let's go ahead and save it. And if we go to our front end, we get this sample page link. Now, it doesn't look like the classes is working. Let me take a look. Okay, so see how the UL has no class. Okay, you know what? It might be because we haven't actually assigned it to the primary spot. So let's go and reload. You should now have a menus option under appearance. So we're going to say create menu. We'll call it main menu. And let's see, down here under theme locations, you want to choose primary and then save. Okay, if we go back, reload. Okay, so now it's in effect. It was just because we didn't actually assign it to primary. So let's create a couple pages just to kind of fill out the menu. Alright, so we'll have an about page, and I'm just going to grab some content real quick. Okay, so about, we'll say services, and let's create a page called press release. Okay, we can add those to the menu now. Save. And there we go. So now we have our menu. And the last thing I want to do here is break up our index into the header and footer files. So let's create a new file and save it as header.php, and then another file called footer.php. Alright, and then in the index page, we're going to grab from the very top down to where the last header tag is. Okay, so we're going to cut that and we're going to replace it with php get header. Okay, and then we're going to paste what we have in the header file. Okay, now back in the index page, let's go from the very bottom, and actually all we need is the ending You know what, let's just take the body and the HTML tag and we'll put in get footer. Okay, we'll go put that in the footer file, and everything should still look the exact same. Good. Alright, so in the next video we're going to start to work on the WordPress loop so we can grab posts. Obviously we're going to have to create some posts as well. So I will see you in the next video. Alright, so we're going to start to work on displaying the posts in our theme. But the first thing we need to do is actually create some content. So I'm in the back end now and I'm on the categories page, and I'm going to start to create some new categories. Alright, so create one called business. Let's say entertainment, family, featured, which is an important one because that's going to actually be part of our home page, is going to be the featured posts. So we want that. Let's add one called politics, technology, and let's do travel. Okay, so now we want to go to posts. Now we want to be able to add an image to our posts, so before we do anything there, let's go into functions.php, go into our WPNews theme support function, and we just want to say add theme support, and then just pass in post dash thumbnails. Okay, so now we'll go back and let's just delete the hello world. Okay, and then we're going to start to create some new posts. So we'll say new, and I'm just going to be pasting stuff in, just sample content. You guys are free to just copy it or use your own text, whatever you'd like. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to paste in a couple sentences, and then I'm going to hit the insert read more tag, so that controls where the content actually gets cut off. Alright, and then I'm just going to paste the rest in down here. Alright, and as far as category, let's say entertainment and family. Okay, and then for tags, we could just put whatever, tag 1, tag 2, tag 3, and then down here, we want the featured image. So if we say set featured image, and we need to upload a bunch of stuff here. Let's see. Okay, so you should have a folder with all of these images. I'm just gonna grab them all, and then I'm just gonna grab this guitar one here and then set featured image. Okay, so that looks good for the first post. Let's publish. Okay, now we'll go add another one. Okay, then we'll get the intro text and then read more, and then I'll paste in the rest of it. Okay, so this will be business, and then for the image, let's grab this one here, set featured image, and publish. Alright, so I'm going to go through and do this probably 7 or 8 more times because we want to have quite a bit of posts to work with. Alright, so I'll do that and then I'll be back. Alright, so I am back and I created a bunch of posts here. So now what we want to do is go to index.php. Now the first area that we want to add is this part here, this top part. And this is going to be just the regular WordPress loop. We're not going to create a custom query or anything like that. Just every post that's created is going to show up here. Alright, so let's go to in index.php. We want to go under the form, and this is that area. So we're going to want, first thing, let's put a heading right here, an H2. And let's just call this recent news. Okay, and then where we want to put the loop is right below the UL, okay, because these LIs, this represents one post, and we want to loop through and output that. So we only need that first LI, and then we can get rid of the rest here. So this is going to shorten the template up quite a bit. Okay, so now this LI, we need to wrap a while loop around it. So we'll say PHP while, let's say while have posts, and then we need to do this the post, and then down here we want to end it. Alright, now in here is where we can put our dynamic content. So for instance, the title, we can replace that with PHP the title. And just to make sure that it's working, let's check it out. Look at these titles, and then we reload, and now they have the actual post titles. So that's what we want. Now this here where it says baby dough, we actually want to put the date there. So let's find that. Okay, it's right here, this H5. So in here we're going to replace baby dough with PHP the time. Okay, now we want to format this. So I'm just going to paste this in here. Okay, we'll take a look at that. And now you can see we're getting the time, at the date and time. So let's do the image, alright, which is right here. Now notice this image, oh no, it doesn't have a class. Oh yeah, it does, half bottom space. Okay, remember it has that class half bottom space. So we're going to go ahead and replace this. And we're going to say PHP the post thumbnail. Okay. Now we're going to want this to be a custom size. So what we can do here is let's pass in a string called news thumb. Okay, and we can actually use this in our functions file to make it a custom size. Before we do that though, let's add an array so we can add some options, because we want to add a class option. Okay, so the class is going to be half bottom space. Alright, and that should do it. Now if we go and check it, you can see that the width is correct because it's bound by CSS, but the height isn't. So what we want to do is create a custom size for this news thumb. So we can go in functions PHP, and right under where we add support for thumbnails, we're going to say add image size. Okay, and then we're going to pass in news thumb, and then the second parameter will be the width, which will be 400, and then the height, which will be 200. So let's save that, reload, and now our images are the correct height. So all this is dynamic except for this right here. We need to put in the excerpt. So we'll replace this paragraph, and let's actually create a div called excerpt. And then in here we can just say PHP the excerpt. Okay, we'll go and reload, and now we have our custom content showing up. Alright, and notice that the navigation just automatically works. Alright, so in the next video we're going to move along and create our custom queries so that we can get the featured, popular, and also the business posts. Alright, so I'll see you in the next video. Alright, in the last video we set up our main post loop for this recent news area. This is all coming from WordPress. However, down here these are all just static content. So let's start with the featured stories. Basically what we want to happen is for any posts that are labeled as the featured category or labeled in the featured category, those will show up here. So let's open up index.php and let's go down to our featured stories area, and we're going to want to go right where the UL is. We want to go right under that, and then we're going to create a while loop with a custom query and then spit out a list item for each loop. Okay, so we only need this one. We can get rid of these other ones down here. So right up to here. Alright, and then what we'll do is right here, we're going to say PHP. Let's create a variable called featured query, and that's going to be set to new WP underscore query. And then in here we're going to have an array, and it's just going to have one option. That's going to be category name, and then we're going to set that to featured. Okay, and then we can do our while loop. So we'll say PHP while featured query have posts. Okay, and then we want to do featured query the post, and then we can end it down here. Oops. Save it. Alright, now just to make sure it's working, let's change the title here to PHP the title. Okay, now let's go back to the front end, and then these titles here should change. So let's reload, and now you can see that it has a different title. And if we scroll through, they all have different titles. So let's do the image. Okay, so we can copy what we did up in the regular loop for an image, which is this, the post thumbnail. Copy that, put that there, and then for where it says baby doe, we can grab the date using the time function. And then we can grab the excerpt, put that here. Alright, so let's save that. Now if we go back and reload, you'll notice that the image is too small. So the reason for that is because we're still using where is it? This news thumb. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to news large, save it, and then go into functions PHP, and we're going to create a new image size called news large. And this is actually going to be 790 by 380. So now we'll go back, and there we go. So notice only the featured images, or featured posts, should be showing. Okay. Now for the popular, again, this consists of creating a custom query. So we're going to go back into index, go down to where we have our popular, and let's go right under this UL. And we're going to create a variable called args and set that to an array. Okay, and then in that array we're going to have we'll do order by, and we want to order by comment count. Okay, we also want posts per page, and we're going to set that to 3. Alright, and then what we're going to do is create a variable called popular query, and let's set that to new WP underscore query, and then just pass in args. Alright, and then we can do our while loop. Let's get rid of all but one of these list items. Okay, there's only 3, so we'll get rid of 2. And then we'll do our while loop. So we'll say while popular query have posts, and then we want to do popular query the post, then we'll end it down here. Okay, and let's change where we have the image. We're going to get rid of that and replace it with PHP the post thumbnail. Okay, and we're going to create a custom size for this called news popular. Alright, so let's go create that before I forget. And this is actually going to be 300 by 150. Save that. Now this one actually doesn't have a title, so I'm going to put that in. So this paragraph, I'm going to get rid of that, and then we're going to do the title and the excerpt. Okay, title is going to be wrapped in H4s. And then we also want a link around the title. Okay, so the link is going to just go to PHP the permalink. Alright, and then next to the title I also want to put the number of comments. So we'll go right after the A, and let's do PHP comments underscore number, and then we can pass in a couple parameters here. First one's going to be no responses, that's if there are none. Second one will be if there's one response. And then the third one will be if there's multiple responses, which we can use the % sign as a placeholder. Okay, so let's save that, reload, and there we go. So none of them have any comments yet, but once they do, this will be ordered by the comments. Alright, awesome. So the last part we need to do is down here, and this is going to be the business posts, okay, anything with the category of business. So let's go back to our index page, go down to the last part here, and I'm actually going to put a heading right here, and we'll just say new in business. Alright, and then we're going to go right below the UL. And actually, well, I'm going to copy what I have up here with featured. So this, and then even the while loop. Okay, we'll just change this to business. Okay, then we'll end it. And get rid of the rest of these LIs. Okay, and then for the image, let's copy what we have up here. Okay, this one has a class. This has a class of half bottom space. Actually, let's copy what we have up here with the featured. So this. Alright, and then the title. The date. Put that right there. And then we'll have the excerpt. Alright, let's take a look. Let's see. Do I not have the correct size? News large. That needs to be news. What do they call it? News thumb? Yeah. There we go. So these are all the business listings. Okay, so we have all the blog posts, we have the featured posts, the popular posts, and then the business posts. So that's our home page. So now if we click one of these posts, actually, you know what, this up here, these need to have links on the title. So let's go back to the featured, and where we have the title, let's add a link. Wrap that around that. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so that was the featured. Alright, so that's fine. Now for the top ones, let's find the title and we'll just wrap the link around that as well. And let's do the same thing for popular. We already did it. And then we need the business ones as well. So let's see, title. Alright, so now we can access the single posts. So if we click on that, the single post page looks absolutely horrible. So that's what we'll be working on next. Alright, so our homepage posts are all set. They're coming from where they need to come from. Now we want to work on the single post page because this doesn't look very good. Alright, now what we're going to want to do is create a new file in our theme and save it as single.php. Okay, and for now, let's just copy what we have in the index file and paste that in. Alright, so there's a lot that we need to remove here. We want the header, the form. We don't want the form, so we can get rid of that. Alright, and then where we have this ink grid vertical space, I want to use this for the actual content. So we can keep this div, the panel div. That's it really. Yeah, so everything from within the panel we can actually get rid of. Okay. Let's see. So this one ends down there. Let's get rid. You know what? Let's get rid of everything except those two divs. And of course the footer. Alright, so it looks like I'm going to need to add one more div here. Alright, so I actually didn't have to copy the index page. Now in here we're going to have a main area for the post and then a sidebar for any widgets that we have. Alright, so to do that we're going to say div class column group, which is like a row in Bootstrap. Okay, and then we're going to have a div with the class of all-70. Let's also give it a class of post. And then for the sidebar, we'll say div class all30. Now in the all70 div, let's start our while loop. Okay, and then we're going to end it. Okay, now in here, let's add the title. Okay, and let's just check and see if it's actually working. So if we reload this single page, there we go, we just have the title. So let's go under that. And then I'm just going to paste in the meta. Okay, the metadata. So if we go through it, we have a div with the class of meta. We're saying posted on, and then we're using the time function. Then by, we have get the author meta. Okay, so that's going to get the author. No, this will get the author right here. And then this is going to give us a link to the author's archive. And then down here, we're just using get the category to get all the categories as an array. And then down here we're looping through and we're displaying the categories. Alright, so let's save that, reload, and there we go. And next let's be sure to get the thumbnail. Actually, let's create a div. No, we'll do that after. Let's do PHP if has post thumbnail. Okay, if has thumbnail, then we're going to create a div. And then in here we'll say PHP the post thumbnail. Alright, so there's our image. Alright, so after that, let's do the content. So put a line break, and then let's say PHP the content. And then we'll do another line break, and then we'll do the comments template. And there we go. So we're going to add a little bit of styling. Let's go to Style CSS, and let's style the meta. We'll give it a dark background, white color. We'll give it padding of 5 pixels, and let's set border bottom Alright, now for the post thumbnail. Image, we're going to set the width to 100% and then the height to auto. Okay, save that. And now that looks better. So while we're here, we might as well do the sidebar as well. So let's go into functions.php, and we need to add support for widgets. So let's create a function called init widgets, and that'll take in an ID. And I'm actually going to paste this in. So we're calling register sidebar, and the name is going to be sidebar, the ID sidebar, which is all lowercase, and then before the widget we're just going to have a div. Before the title we'll have an h3. Alright, now in order for this to work we need to have the add action. Widgets init is the hook you want to use. Save that. Now let's go back into single.php, go into where we have this all 30. I'm going to create a class of sidebar. I'm going to paste in the dynamic sidebar function. Okay, make sure you have sidebar as the ID as well. Save it. Now if we go to our back end, you should now have widgets under your appearance. And let's bring over categories. And let's bring over archives. Okay, we'll go back, reload. Now let's add a little bit of styling here because that doesn't look too good. So we're going to go to our style sheet. And let's add our sidebar class. I'm just going to put some padding to the left. Let's say 25. And then we want the LI. So that'll be list style none. Let's give it a line height of 2.2 m, and then border bottom. We'll say dotted and light gray. Okay, so that looks a little better. Actually, you know what? Each one, let's give it a div of side widget. So where we have this before widget, I'm just going to add class side widget, and then we can separate them a little bit. Alright, so that's the single page. Now for the comments, we're going to do the same thing we've been doing. We're going to just create a custom comments template. And we're going to just add basically just boilerplate code that's from the documentation. If you want to get that copied, we'll spit out the comments here and then the form here. Okay, so it doesn't look that great, so we're just going to add our styling. Okay, nothing special, just kind of the same thing we've been doing. We have our comments class, the headings, the body, the meta, the reply link, and the form. And there we go. So that's a single page with comments with a sidebar. So in the next video, we're going to work on the archived pages, because if I click on one of these categories, it just takes us to a page that looks like our home page, which isn't what we want. Alright, so we'll get into that next. Alright, so what we're going to be doing now is we want to work on the archived page, because if we go, let's say, to click one of these categories, it's going to look like this, which isn't what we want. So let's create a new file. And we're going to call it archive.php. Alright, and I'm going to copy everything we have in the single.php file and then paste it in. Now as far as how these are formatted, it's going to be formatted like the popular, okay, this right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear everything that's in the while loop. Alright, and let's put a UL right here. Give it a class of unstyled. And then right under the end while, we're going to close that UL. Alright, and then we're going to jump over to index.php and go where we have the popular posts, which is right here. And we're going to grab everything in here, in the LI. Copy it, and then go and paste it in this while loop. Alright, so let's save that, and then let's go back to an archived page. And now it looks like this. Okay, let's add a heading up here. Now, since it's an archive, there's many different types, so we're going to use the if statement that we've been using all along for archive pages. Let's go right here and put in an H2. And then we're going to paste this in. So it's just checking for the different types of archives, category, author, tag, and so on. Alright, so now if we go back and reload, now we get business, click on entertainment, we get entertainment. Click on one of these, gives us the archive by day. What else? Actually, no, that should be by month. This will be by year. Okay, now if I click on the user, we get all the posts by that user as well. Alright, so that's that. Now we also want the search to work, and the search results should look just like that archive. So we're going to create a new file, save it as search.php, and we're going to copy everything that's in the archive and paste that in search, except for the header, the heading. We want to get rid of this, and we'll just have it say search results. Okay, and then the search form itself, if we go to index.php and we look at the form, all we need is we're going to have to actually add a form tag because we don't have that. And we're going to add a few things. We need a method. So method will be get, and then we need action. So here we're going to say PHP echo, and then we're going to escape URL. In here we're going to add home URL, and we're going to add as a parameter /. Okay, now make sure you have the name of the input as S so that it works. Alright, we'll save that, and then let's go into one of our posts, and let's just write the word hello. Alright, and then from the front end, let's go and type in hello, and there we go. I already had an article with the word hello in it as well. So that looks good. Now we have the form only on the home page. I want it to be on the search results as well. So let's just grab it right here in the index and go to search PHP, and then we're just going to add that to the top. Alright, so then when we search, we still get the input box at the top. Alright, so we're just about there. We just need to do the page now, because if we click on, let's say, about, this is what it looks like. So let's go and create a new file, save it as page.php, and we're going to copy what we have in single.php, paste that in, and then let's get rid of this meta div. We can get rid of this thumbnail post area, get rid of the comments template, and I think that's it. So if we go now, reload, we have a simple about page. Alright. So that's it, guys. Our WP News theme is now complete. Alright, so hopefully you like this project, and I'll see you in the next one.